Welcome to our deep dive into AI this week. It's really incredible how much is happening in this field, honestly. I feel like every week there's some crazy new development. It's hard to even keep up.
I know what you mean, trying to follow all of the latest AI news. It's like drinking from a fire hose. There is just so much going on. This past week alone, January 25th to February 2nd, we've seen major funding news, research breakthroughs, and even some big security concerns.
Yeah, you send over a ton of stuff for us to look at articles, research reports, even some forum discussions, and it is a lot to digest.
Yeah.
So today we're going to do our best to help you cut through all the noise and figure out what's really important.
Exactly. We're going to extract the key insights from this mountain of AI news. We'll connect the dots and try to make sense of the biggest trends. And hopefully you'll walk away understanding what really matters and what to keep an eye on.
All right, sounds good. Let's dive in. One of the first things that caught my eye was OpenAI's potential valuation. It's nuts. It could reach $340 billion, apparently.
Yeah.
If that happens, they would become one of the most valuable tech companies ever.
Yeah, that's an incredible amount of money. I think that kind of valuation, it really shows how much confidence investors have in OpenAI and their future. They're basically betting that OpenAI is going to be a dominant force in AI, maybe even the dominant force.
Right, and it does make you wonder, if a single company has that much financial power, will it create an uneven playing field?
Hmm.
For other companies or researchers. I'm not sure. It's interesting to think about, at least.
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's not just about money, though. OpenAI is making some really interesting moves on the tech side, too. For instance, o3-mini, their new reasoning model, they decided to just release it for free. Anyone can access it, which seems like a pretty smart move.
It's a classic move, the open source strategy, get your tech out there, get people
Yeah.
using it. And it's worked pretty well for OpenAI in the past. You make your model accessible, you get a whole community using it, contributing to it. That just accelerates innovation and adoption.
Makes sense. But then on the other hand, we have OpenAI teaming up with U.S. national labs. They're working on things like nuclear security and some really advanced scientific research. I don't know. It seems like they're trying to become this force for good. Like they're trying to position themselves as, essential for tackling these huge challenges facing humanity.
Well, there's definitely a lot of ambition there, maybe even a bit of idealism, but you have to remember they are still a business. OpenAI has commercial interests too. It's kind of this mix we see everywhere in the AI world, this blend of wanting to do good and wanting to make money. And that raises some really tricky questions. How do we make sure this technology is developed responsibly, used ethically, when there are so many competing interests?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And speaking of competition and pushing boundaries, Google isn't just, letting OpenAI have all the fun. Did you see that they're looking for engineers specifically to work on something called AI recursive self-improvement?
I did.
I don't know. It sounds fascinating, but also kind of scary, right?
Yeah, that caught my attention too. AI recursive self-improvement. Basically, it means AI systems that can rewrite their own code to get faster, more efficient, more powerful.
Okay, so just I'm clear. We're talking about AI that can learn and evolve all on its own, potentially even beyond our control. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
No wonder people are getting nervous.
It is a big step toward what's called artificial general intelligence, or AGI. And AGI, well, that's when AI can do any intellectual task that a human can. And yeah, that can make people a little nervous for sure. It brings up some really big questions about the future. What does it mean for humanity if AI can not just outperform us at specific tasks, but actually surpass us intellectually? How do we control something that's potentially smarter than we are?
That's a lot to think about. And on a lighter note, Google's also been busy with Gemini, right? They just released Gemini 2.0 Flash, and it's supposed to be a big upgrade, faster responses, better image generation. Everything is improved. Feels like they're really laser focused on the user experience, make AI easy to use, and integrate it seamlessly into our everyday lives.
Absolutely. And you see this focus on the user experience everywhere in the industry right now. Like, look at Google's new AI that can handle your phone calls, schedule appointments, even have a natural conversation with you. The game isn't just about making AI more powerful, it's also about making it user-friendly.
Right. So it's not just an AI arms race in terms of technology, but also in terms of winning over users.
Yeah.
Like becoming the AI platform that people rely on for everything from, searching the web to to running their lives.
Exactly. Who's going to capture the most market share? Who's going to be the platform that everyone depends on? That's the big question.
Right. Okay, so we've got OpenAI and Google. They're both doing incredible things, but it's not just a two-horse race. There's another player that's really shaking things up, and that's DeepSeek. They're a Chinese AI startup, and they've kind of come out of nowhere, really.
Yeah, DeepSeek is an interesting case. They've really made a splash. Their R1 chatbot, it actually topped the App Store charts. I think they got over 2 million downloads, but then they ran into some cybersecurity issues, unfortunately.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but their success is still pretty remarkable, you know? It really challenges the idea that you need to be a huge company with tons of funding and, giant data centers to compete in the AI space.
And then there's the whole AI writing its own code thing.
Mm.
DeepSeek seems to have actually achieved this, right?
Yeah.
R1 rewrote some of its own code to speed itself up.
That's right.
That's why, I mean, even for someone who follows AI news closely, that's just mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing. We're seeing this kind of algorithmic self-optimization that, used to be pure science fiction. It makes you think, how fast is AI really developing? And are there unintended consequences we haven't even thought of yet? It's pretty profound.
So to recap, we've got OpenAI and Google battling it out for AI supremacy. We've got DeepSeek emerging as this real disruptor. And AI is becoming more powerful and more present in our lives every single day. There's a lot to unpack here. I mean, what do you think is the most important takeaway from all this?
The most important takeaway, I'd say it's that the AI landscape is evolving really fast, and it's getting more and more complex. We're seeing this convergence of major technological advances, geopolitical maneuvering, and really important ethical considerations. All of this is going to shape the future of AI and its impact on, well, on all of us, on society as a whole.
That's a great way to put it. But hey, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We still have a lot to talk about. And this DeepSeek story, it's only getting more interesting. So stick with us as we delve deeper into the latest developments and explore what this AI revolution really means for the future.
It's kind of funny. DeepSeek's success really makes you rethink the whole AI landscape. Like, they're this scrappy underdog, and they're challenging those big players.
Yeah, it's true. Their achievements, I mean, everyone in the AI community is talking about this. DeepSeek is showing that you don't need those massive resources, those Silicon Valley giants, to make breakthroughs.
It's like they're throwing a wrench in the whole AI arms race, right? It's not just about who has the most money or the biggest data centers anymore.
Right. Innovation, it can come from anywhere. And DeepSeek, their story, it's a reminder that, well, there's so many other factors that matter too. Government support, access to talent, even just cultural attitudes toward technology. It all plays a role in shaping the AI landscape. Yeah, makes sense. And this idea of a more diverse AI ecosystem, it goes beyond just DeepSeek, right? We're seeing more AI tools, more platforms that are accessible to, well, just more people in general. Like, have you heard of Refusion? They just launched this AI music platform, totally free. Anyone can use it to create original music, even if they, don't have any musical training.
It's amazing. It's like this democratization of AI, and it's so interesting. Think about the possibilities. It could empower individuals, communities, unlock all kinds of creative expression. It could even level the playing field in industries that have always been dominated by, the big guys.
It's exciting to think about, definitely. But then, of course, you have to think about the downsides, too. Like, what does this mean for professional musicians? Will AI-generated music eventually just replace human creativity?
That's the big question, isn't it? And it's a debate happening all over the creative world, not just music. It's important to remember, though, that ultimately, these AI tools, they're extensions of human creativity, right? They can enhance what we do. They can open up new possibilities, new avenues to explore. They can help us get over those creative blocks. But they don't replace the human spark, the inspiration, the emotion that we bring to our art.
So maybe it's not about replacement. It's more about transformation. AI reshaping how we create and experience art, working together with human creativity.
That's a good way to put it. We're in this era of human AI collaboration, and the lines are blurring, between creator and tool. I think this is going to redefine how we think about art, about authorship, even about the nature of creativity itself. It's fascinating.
And this whole blurring of lines, this collaboration, it's not just happening in the arts. Like, take healthcare. They're using AI to develop new vaccines, new therapies. Did you see that MIT and the Reagan Institute, they're working on a universal flu vaccine using AI? Could totally change how we fight infectious diseases.
Yeah, and it's just the beginning, really. AI in healthcare, it's so promising. Diagnosing diseases earlier and more accurately personalizing treatment plans, even discovering new drugs. I mean, AI could transform the whole healthcare landscape. Imagine the lives that could be improved. It's incredible.
It really is. It's amazing to see this technology just exploding, expanding into all these different areas of our lives. But as amazing as it is, we can't just focus on the good stuff. We have to talk about the potential problems too. Like I read the story about LinkedIn. They're having all these issues with fake job seeker profiles
Yes.
generated by
Oh,
AI.
yeah, that's a good example.
Shows how AI can be used for, well, for deceptive purposes or even harmful ones.
Exactly. And as AI becomes more powerful, more integrated into everything we do, we're going to have to be really vigilant about how it's used, right?
Mhm.
The potential for misuse is huge, from misinformation to deep fakes, AI-powered surveillance, social manipulation. I mean, the list goes on.
And then you have the security concerns. I mean, remember DeepSeek? They had those cybersecurity issues. And it reminds you that even the most advanced AI, it can be vulnerable to attacks, to data breaches.
Hmm.
And there was that OpenAI researcher, right? The
Yeah.
one who quit and warned everyone about the dangers of AGI, how it's a risky gamble. It's a lot.
Those incidents, they're like a wake-up call. We need strong security, we need responsible development practices, or else, well, we're taking a big risk. The more we push the boundaries with AI, the more we need to think about those consequences, make sure the right safeguards are in place.
It feels like walking a tightrope, doesn't it? On the one hand, we have this amazing technology that could solve huge problems, create incredible opportunities. But on the other, there's the potential for misuse, for unintended consequences, for, maybe even existential risks, as some people say. How do we balance that?
It's not easy. It's going to take real effort to get this right. I think the key is to understand both sides, the potential good and the potential bad. It's not about just blindly accepting AI or rejecting it. It's about having honest, informed conversations about how we can harness its power for good while minimizing the risks.
Yeah, and those conversations need to happen everywhere, right? Not just among tech experts, but with policymakers, ethicists, social scientists, and everyday people too.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to be a part of this.
Absolutely. The future of AI, it's not something that's just going to happen to us. It's something we're creating together as a society. And the more informed we are, the more engaged we are, the better equipped we'll be to shape that future, to make sure AI is a force for good in the world.
Well said. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the big picture, but let's bring it down to earth for a second. One of the things that keeps coming up is this issue of data scraping. AI needs tons of data to learn, to improve, but that raises all these questions about privacy, about who controls that data, about individual rights.
It's a classic dilemma, right?
Hmm.
Innovation versus individual rights. And finding that balance, enabling AI development while protecting privacy, protecting data ownership, that's going to be crucial. And it's going to take creative solutions, not just technical ones.
Yeah, we need to talk about ethics, legal guidelines, societal norms around data usage, all of it.
Yeah.
This isn't just a tech problem, it's a societal problem.
Exactly. And that means we need a multifaceted approach.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground, the competitive landscape, the democratization of AI, the good and the bad, the need for responsible development. But there's one more piece of the puzzle, the global dimension. AI isn't limited by borders, right?
Right. It's a global phenomenon. And these developments, they're playing out on a global stage. A lot of people talk about the US and China as the main players in the AI race. But there's so many other countries that are making important contributions, shaping the future of AI in their own way. Well, take Sakana AI in Japan, for instance. They just launched Tiny Swallow. It's this compact Japanese language model that can run offline on a smartphone. Pretty impressive, right? It shows that innovation is happening all over the world, not just in those traditional tech hubs.
So it's not just a two-sided race, the US versus China. It's more like a multipolar AI landscape is emerging. Different countries, different companies, different approaches, all competing for influence.
Exactly. And that multipolarity, it's both exciting and challenging. On the one hand, you have more competition, more innovation, but it also makes governance more complicated. There are more opportunities for conflict, for ethical misalignments. It's a lot to navigate.
Which brings us to, I think, the big question. How do we make sure AI is developed responsibly on a global scale?
That is the million-dollar question, and it's not an easy one to answer. It's going to take international collaboration, shared ethical frameworks, and a willingness to have those tough conversations across cultures, across political divides. It's a big task, but it's one we have to take on.
Yeah, the future of AI, maybe even the future of humanity, depends on getting this right. We've been talking about these big, weighty issues, but I think it's important to remember that AI is also impacting our lives in smaller, everyday ways. Remember that story about the Garmin smartwatches, how they were all bricked with the blue triangle of
Oh,
death?
yeah, that was wild.
Sometimes it's good to remember that AI, for all the hype, it's still pretty early days. There are going to be glitches, there are going to be setbacks, there are going to be moments where it's just kind of absurd.
That's true. It's all part of the process, right? Figuring things out as we go.
Absolutely. And speaking of the process, we're about to head into the final stretch of our deep dive. Next up, we're tackling the ethical challenges of AI head on. We'll be asking some tough questions, grappling with some pretty complex dilemmas, but I think it'll be a really interesting conversation. Stick with us. All right, so we've talked about the AI landscape, all the players, the amazing potential, and the risks that come with it. But now let's really dig into those ethical challenges that are popping up everywhere.
I think it's important to focus on that. This is where it gets real, you know. AI is becoming a part of our lives, so we really need to talk about how it's going to affect our values, our rights, even what it means to be human.
And DeepSeek seems to be right in the middle of a lot of these debates. They've got those GDPR violations in Europe. They're kicked off some app stores. And there are even people saying they stole OpenAI's technology. It's a mess.
Yeah, DeepSeek is definitely pushing the limits, both with the technology and ethically too. Their situation really shows that we need some clear international rules for AI, for how it's developed and how data is used. Right now, the rules are different in Europe, China, the US, and that just creates all these gray areas where, companies can maybe take advantage or ignore ethical concerns.
So it's not just about whether one company's doing good or bad. It's more about needing a level playing field, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone needs to be following the same ethical guidelines.
Exactly. We need a global framework, something that covers data privacy, obviously, but also things like bias and algorithms, the potential for misuse, and even the possibility that AI could become so advanced, so powerful that it poses what some people call existential risks.
Existential risks. You mean like AI becoming a threat to humanity?
Yeah.
That brings us back to that OpenAI researcher who quit, right?
Yeah.
The one who said developing AGI is risky gamble. Are we really talking about machines getting smarter than us, maybe even threatening our existence?
It's not science fiction anymore. We have to consider it. AI is developing so fast, and yeah, there's a lot of good that can come from it, but there are inherent dangers too. We need to be prepared. We need to mitigate those risks.
Okay, but who decides what those safeguards should be? Is it tech companies,
Mhm.
governments, international organizations? It feels like uncharted territory.
It is, and that's why it's so crucial to have these conversations now. While the technology is still relatively new, we need everyone at the table, experts from all these different fields, computer science, ethics, law, even social science. We need to work together to figure out the frameworks, the guidelines, rules of the road for responsible AI development.
So again, it's not just a technology problem, it's a societal problem, a human problem, really.
Exactly. And that means we all have a part to play, not just the experts. We all need to learn about AI, the good and the bad. We need to be informed citizens, engaged in the discussion, demanding that these companies developing AI are transparent and accountable.
So what can we do as, just everyday people using AI? How can we help make sure it's developed and used responsibly?
There are a few things. First, just stay informed. Read about what's happening, ask questions, be critical of the information you see. Second, support organizations that are pushing for ethical AI. Your voice matters, your choices as a consumer matter. And finally, be mindful of how you're using AI. Think about the data you're sharing, the algorithms you're interacting with, and the potential consequences.
Be mindful, I like that. It reminds us that we're not just passengers in this AI revolution. We have a role to play, we have agency, we can make a difference.
Absolutely. AI isn't some force outside of us, It's something we're creating, and it's going to reflect our values, our biases, our intentions.
So let's make sure we're creating AI that benefits humanity, that makes our lives better, that helps us build a more just and equitable world.
I think that's something we can all agree on.
This has been an amazing conversation, really. We've explored so much, from the competition and the technology to the ethics and the future of AI. It's clear this field is going to keep changing rapidly, and it's going to affect our lives in profound ways.
And the conversation has just begun. As AI keeps evolving, we need to stay engaged, we need to keep learning, we need to keep asking tough questions.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI. We hope you found it insightful, thought-provoking, and maybe even a little bit hopeful.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.